You want the autopsy on how we screwed it all up? The Vrek-Nor veteran had a voice like a combat boot grinding into gravel. He sat hunched over a glass of something that looked like industrial coolant, his mandibles twitching with a nervous, staccato rhythm that signaled too many years on the front. I'll give it to you straight, it wasn't a military defeat. It was a goddamn infection. A warm-blooded, high-velocity psychosis. We weren't fighting soldiers, we were fighting the architects of a new kind of hell. Ilaravan leaned into the shadows of the booth, her antennae picking up the faint, metallic tang of the station's recycled air. In the hegemony, the human-Thraxian war was a sanitized ghost story, a series of redacted files floating in a sea of propaganda. But here, in the grime of a deep-stack bar, the truth felt a lot more like a lead weight in the gut. But the geometry, she said, trying to sound like the journalist she was supposed to be. The hegemony's tactical superiority was supposed to be an absolute. Superiority? The veteran made a sound that might have been a laugh if it hadn't been so hollow. Don't talk to me about math. Humans don't give a shit about your variables. They turned slaughter into an art form before they even had the tech to leave their own gravity well. While we were jerking off over plasma arrays and gossamer shields, they were in the dirt, finding 1,000 ways to turn jagged iron and chemical soot into a masterpiece of deconstruction. They don't just kill you, they take you apart. It sounds primitive, Ilaravan whispered. The word felt brittle, a leftover from a civilization that thought it was too evolved to bleed. Primitive is just a word for things that work when the power goes out, the veteran spat, his glass hitting the table with a dull thud. In the first drop, we deployed the AIS, perfect, crystalline logic gates, optimal formations. The humans looked at our symmetry and they didn't even flinch. They just started throwing rocks. Real big ones. Rocks? Project Mjölnir. Telephone poles made of solid tungsten, dropped from the high black. No radiation, no energy signature to track, just several tons of kinetic spite hitting the ground at Mach 20. It's not warfare, it's the sudden, vertical arrival of an extinction event. Pure, unadulterated mass. The bar felt smaller now, the neon lights overhead humming with a predatory vibration. But the numbers, we had millions. Humans eat numbers for breakfast, the veteran chittered, his eyes dark with the memory of it. They have this sick liturgy for the underdog. They feed on the desperate stand. Thermopylae, the Alamo, Rourke's drift, it's baked into their DNA. While our strategists were running simulations, their kids were hunched over video games in darkened rooms, living out 10,000 combat cycles before they were old enough to shave. By the time they hit the dirt, their clerks had more tactical mileage than our high command. A simulation isn't reality, Ilaravan argued, though she felt the coldness of the truth creeping up her spine. In a human's head, the line doesn't exist. They've been raised in a nursery of conflict, capture games, paint fights, laser tag. Combat is their leisure. But that's just the surface noise. He leaned in, the smell of cheap synth booze heavy on his breath. The real horror is their plasticity. We fought with science, which is a cage. They fought with possibility, which is a meat grinder. They look at a field of their own dead and see raw material for a new way to kill you. Explain that. The siege of iron skies. We had them dead to rights, superior positioning, locked-in firing solutions. Any sane species would have surrendered. Instead, they redlined their own antimatter cores and cooked a deliberate EM pulse that fried every system within a light second. While we were sitting in the dark, dead in the water, they came out of the airlocks. Not in ships. In suits of iron, propelled by chemical thrusters. Can you imagine it? Watching these primates cut through your hull with thermal lances, literally just white-hot metal, while they sang. They have songs about their own troops falling to pieces, and they sing them to get their dicks hard for the fight. What kind of species finds music in its own rot? Ilaravan felt a tremor in her joints. Technology should have been their shackle. Technology is just a pallet to them. They'll fire a pulse laser and then follow it up with a lead slug just to see if it makes a different sound hitting your armor. They have 100 ways to describe skinning a cat. Think about the hardware required to generate an idiom like that. It's a mind that views the entire universe as something to be peeled back until the blood starts flowing. But our vessels, our armaments. Your vessels were poems. Theirs were iron coffins with high-output engines. They didn't want elegance, they wanted the durability of a sledgehammer. They ditched shields for slab-sided armor and sheer, bloody-minded grit. And the weapons? They brought the whole history of pain. Lead, fire, biological rot. If it hurt, they weaponized it. They even weaponized our own heads. They leaked rumors that they could smell our fear, that they'd kill you slow if you didn't kneel. It was a mimetic virus that ate us from the inside out. It's pure madness, Ilarivan said, her voice cracking. It's a functional psychosis, the veteran corrected. They don't care about the sublime. They care about what leaves a hole in the target. They'll use a spoon to scoop your eyes out if they lose the knife. He finished his drink, his movements jagged and restless. You want the foundation of their victory? The black stone they built it on. Tell me. They enjoy it. Not the death, though for some of them that's the only way they feel alive, but the challenge. The red riddle. After we folded, they invited our lords to a tournament, a farce of dye and air guns. Our high command, getting pelted with paint by laughing apes who treated the end of an empire like a goddamn frat party. Grotesque, Ilarivan whispered. Grotesque is the air they breathe. Their civilians build models of our ships just to blow them up. They write books about how they could have killed us better. Their culture isn't a civilization, it's a forge. We were fighting soldiers of the state, they were warriors of the soul. We brought science to an art fight, and we got painted out of the frame. He stood up, his shadow cutting a jagged path across the floor. They're the gods of war because they've moved past the need for it. They've turned destruction into a symphony, and we were just the instruments they snapped to hear the chord. Ilarivan sat in the heavy silence, the station's artificial gravity feeling like it was trying to crush her. Will they ever be civilized? Kael'tor chittered, a dark, nihilistic sound. They are the definition of it. That's the razor's edge. They have poets who hunt and scientists who live for the combat sim. They found the secret. Sophistication is just a more efficient way to be a predator. Look at them over there, drinking, singing, arm wrestling for scraps. But threaten their world, and the diplomat's mask melts. They don't lose their civilization, they just weaponize it. And the result? They transcend. They turn the violence into a dance. And the rest of us? We're just the toddlers in the dirt while they orchestrate a funeral march for the stars. He headed for the door, fading into the neon-drenched haze. If you ever find yourself in their sights, Ilarivan, don't bother fighting. Just surrender. Because if you don't, they'll strip your tech, improve it, and use your own soul to beat you to death while they whistle a catchy tune. The veteran vanished. Ilarivan stayed in the booth, the human song, the one about a duke and his 10,000 men, washing over her like a cold rain. She didn't want the translation. She didn't want the lyrics. Some things were better left in the dark. She was packing her gear when a human officer detached himself from the bar. His uniform was a riot of gaudy ribbons, medals for 1,000 kinds of violence. He ordered a whiskey, his movements possessing a liquid, predatory grace. Your friend got the broad strokes right, the officer said, his voice a low, gravelly hum. But he missed the marrow. He saw the show, but he didn't see the rehearsals. Rehearsals? The human grinned, showing white teeth in a way that made her thorax tighten. We don't want to fight. We spend every waking second building the wall so we never have to lean against it. That's the real divinity of war, being so good at the art that you choose never to pick up the brush.